A lot of older gun owners lose rights they never knew they still had. And by the time someone finally explains the rules, the mistake is already made. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from serious legal trouble, and maybe even save a family gun collection from being taken apart piece by piece. Hit that button now, because this channel is for people who want straight answers before a problem starts, not after. Let's get right into the first forgotten senior gun right, and this one shocks people every single time. Getting older does not automatically cancel your gun rights. There is no federal rule that says once you hit a certain birthday, you suddenly become too old to own a firearm. Not 65, not 75, not 85. Age by itself is not the legal trigger. That matters because a lot of seniors hear bad advice from friends, neighbors, even family. They hear things like, once you stop driving, you should probably give up your guns too. Or, if you start taking more medication, you can't own them anymore. That sounds official, but a lot of the time it's just fear talking. Here's what really matters. The law looks at specific disqualifiers, not birthdays. Things like certain criminal convictions, certain court orders, unlawful drug use, or certain mental health rulings can matter. But simply being older does not put you into a prohibited category under federal law. That is a huge difference. Now, let me explain why this matters so much for seniors. Once people around you assume you have lost your rights, they start making moves. An adult child might try to take your safe key. A caregiver might tell police you should not have access. A retirement community manager might speak as if the issue is already settled. But assumption is not the same as law. Here's the second forgotten right. You still have due process rights before the government takes your guns away. That means there is supposed to be a legal process, not just gossip, not just a family argument at Thanksgiving, not just one bad doctor visit. A real legal step matters. But here's the crazy part. Many seniors do not realize how fast these situations can move. A relative says you're confused. A neighbor says you made a strange comment. Police respond to a welfare check. Suddenly, you are in the middle of a case you never saw coming. In some states, emergency orders can happen quickly. But even then, there are still court steps, notices, and a chance to respond. That is why you must take every paper, every hearing date, and every notice seriously. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Imagine you are 78. Your spouse dies. You're grieving. You miss a few bill payments. Your daughter panics and tells the court you're not safe with firearms. If you ignore the hearing because you think this is just family drama, you could lose far more than an argument. You could lose access to your firearms because you did not show up when the law gave you a chance to answer. And here's the third forgotten right. A medical problem, memory problem, or emotional rough patch does not automatically mean you are federally barred from gun ownership. A lot of people mix up health concerns with legal prohibitions. Those are not the same thing. Under federal law, the key issue is usually some formal legal finding or commitment, not simply getting older, taking medication, or having a diagnosis written in a chart. State laws can add more rules, so you need to check your state. But do not assume a rumor, a label, or a bad week ends your rights forever. This is the part that shocked me when I first started seeing these cases. Seniors often give up their rights voluntarily because they think the law already decided against them. In reality, sometimes no final legal ruling has happened at all. They surrendered first and asked questions later. Don't make that mistake. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the exact words to use when someone starts asking loaded questions about your firearms after a police stop or welfare check. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because one sentence said the wrong way can create a mess that takes months to clean up. Now let's talk about the fourth forgotten senior gun right, because this one catches retirees all the time. You may still be able to transport your firearms across state lines, but only if you follow the rules exactly. A lot of older gun owners travel more. They visit grandkids, they snowbird between states, they downsize, they move after retirement, and that is where people get trapped. Most people think, if I own it legally here, I'm good everywhere. No, that is where the danger starts. Federal law offers some travel protection in certain situations, but it is not a magic shield. In general, the gun needs to be legal where you start and legal where you end. It should be unloaded. It should be locked away, ideally in the trunk or a locked container. And your route matters more than people think. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The trouble often happens during the stop, not the trip. You get tired. You stay overnight in the wrong place. You leave the gun too accessible in the vehicle. You cross into a state with very different magazine, carry, or storage laws. Suddenly, what felt like a normal travel day becomes a criminal charge. Here's what most people get wrong. They rely on what worked 10 years ago. Or they rely on a gun shop story. Or they rely on a cousin who says, don't worry about it. Bad idea. If you are moving, visiting family, or spending part of the year in another state, you need to know the law at both ends before the trip starts. Here's the fifth forgotten right, and this one can save a lot of heartache. You have the right to challenge a mistaken background check, denial, or delay. This matters for seniors more than you may think. Older gun owners are more likely to deal with records errors, old paperwork, similar names, and old court entries that were never cleaned up properly. Imagine you try to buy a new revolver after your old one wears out. The system says delayed, then denied. You panic and think, that's it, I'm done. But wait, there's something even more important. A denial is not always the final word. There is a challenge process. You can ask why it happened. If you are getting flagged because your name matches someone else or because an old record is wrong, there are ways to fight that. And if the same problem keeps happening, there may be another tool that helps. The FBI has a process called the voluntary appeal file, and some people can get a UPIN, which is a personal number used to sort out repeated mistaken denials. No, it does not fix every problem, but it can help the right person stop getting stuck in the same background check loop over and over again. Now, quick legal note, this is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. Let's move to the sixth forgotten right, because families almost never see this coming until a funeral happens. You have the right to plan the legal transfer of your firearms instead of leaving your family in chaos. This is huge for seniors, maybe the most overlooked issue on this whole list. Here's what just happened in thousands of families across the country. A parent dies. The kids open the closet and find rifles, handguns, maybe an old suppressor, maybe even items that are registered under special federal rules. Nobody knows what can be kept, what must be transferred, and what paperwork is needed. So they do the worst possible thing. They start moving guns around casually, or they hand them to the wrong person, just for safekeeping. That can create massive legal problems. Some transfers must go through specific steps. State law can change who can receive what and how. And if the collection includes items regulated under the National Firearms Act, like a lawfully registered suppressor or short-barreled rifle, the estate process gets more specific. In some cases, a lawful heir can receive that kind of item on a tax-free transfer form. But the paperwork still has to be done right. Let me break this down for you in plain English. If you are a senior gun owner, your collection needs instructions, who gets what, who is legally allowed to receive it, where the documents are, which items are ordinary firearms, and which are under extra federal rules. If you do not make that plan, your family may break the law while trying to honor your wishes. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the people who get these updates before a bad move becomes a criminal one. Click subscribe, because this channel is built for regular gun owners who want the truth without the nonsense. Now, we're at the seventh forgotten senior gun right, and this one gets emotional fast. You still have the right to defend yourself in your home, but you also need a lawful access plan that fits your stage of life. Those two ideas have to work together. A lot of people hear safe storage and think it means make the gun useless. That is not the goal. The real goal is lawful, responsible access. If you live alone, your plan may look one way. If a grandchild visits every weekend, it may look different. If you have early memory issues, it may need another layer. And if you are moving into assisted living or a private senior community, you need to understand something critical. Your general rights and that property's rules are not always the same thing. Most people think, it's my room, so it's my rules. Not always. Private facilities, leases, and community contracts may limit what can be stored on the property. That does not automatically erase every right you have, but it can change where and how you can lawfully keep firearms. This is where seniors get blindsided. They focus on ownership and forget possession rules, housing rules, and access rules. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say you move into a retirement apartment after a fall. You keep a handgun in your nightstand because you have always kept one there. Months later, management learns about it during maintenance. Now you're not just facing a housing problem. Depending on the place, the contract, and state law, you may also be dealing with eviction pressure, police contact, or a family fight over whether you can stay armed at all. So what is the smart move? Build a written plan before a crisis hits. Know the facility rules. Know who can lawfully store or transport your firearms if your living situation changes. Know whether your state has special rules on temporary transfers or storage with family. This is not about giving up your rights. It is about protecting them the right way before someone else starts making decisions for you. And there is one more warning most people never hear. The older you get, the more people assume they can help you by acting first and asking later. A son-in-law takes the guns home. A neighbor calls the police. A hospital social worker asks broad questions. If you do not already have a lawful plan, your rights can get tangled in fear, paperwork, and bad advice very quickly. This information can stop being useful the second a new state, law, court order, or housing rule lands in your life. Subscribe now, because in the next video I'm breaking down the exact checklist every senior gun owner should complete before a move, a hospital stay, or family emergency catches them off guard. So here's the big takeaway. If you are a senior gun owner, the law does not simply erase your rights because of age, but your rights can be damaged fast by bad assumptions, missed paperwork, travel mistakes, background check errors, and poor planning. The people who stay protected are usually the people who prepare early. If this video helped you see a danger you never thought about, subscribe right now and stay with this channel. I make these videos so you can protect yourself, your family, and your freedom before it's too late. And one final reminder in simple terms. This video is general education, not personal legal advice. Laws change, states differ, and if your situation is specific, talk to a qualified attorney before you act.